Space was silent. Silent in a way that felt wrong. A broken warship drifted slowly through the darkness. Its hull was torn open like a wound. Lights flickered on its surface, weak and dying. The name on the side was barely visible. ISS Valiant. Flagship of the Ninth Fleet. No one had heard from the Ninth Fleet for 2 weeks. They had left Earth with pride and power, ready to guard the borders after a border attack by the Alien Alliance. 25 ships, 2,000 soldiers. Humanity's best. Now, only this one ship floated here, alone. Inside a small scout shuttle. Pilot Jonah Vex sat in the cockpit, staring at the Valiant through the glass. His breath fogged up the helmet visor. His fingers tightened around the controls. Earth Command. This is Scout 3, Jonah said, his voice tight. I've found something. It's the Valiant. She's just drifting. The radio hissed back. Proceed with caution, life signs. Jonah checked his scanner. The screen showed only a flat green line. No life signs, he said. But there's power. Lights are still on. A long pause came from command. Board her. Pilot, find any logs. We need answers. Jonah swallowed hard. Copy. His shuttle clamped onto the Valiant's side with a soft thud. The airlock door groaned open. Darkness waited on the other side. Jonah stepped in. His boots clicked on the metal floor. The air smelled like rust and something burnt. He shone his helmet light across the corridor. The walls were scorched. Some panels ripped away. It was too quiet. No hum of engines, no voices, just the faint echo of his own breathing. He moved deeper. His radio crackled once, then went dead. He tapped it, but nothing. Great, he muttered. Dead zone. He turned a corner and stopped. There was a trail of black marks along the floor, burn marks, like something had been dragged. He followed them until they reached a closed bulkhead door. The control panel was dead, so he forced it open with a manual crank. The door slid open with a screech. Inside, the crew lounge was wrecked, tables overturned, chairs shattered. The walls had strange cuts in them, long deep slices, as if made by claws of metal. In the far corner, a helmet lay on the floor. Its visor cracked from the inside. Jonah bent to pick it up. That's when he heard it. Footsteps. Soft, slow. He froze. The scanner still showed 0 life signs. He turned his helmet light toward the sound. The corridor ahead was empty. Hello, he called. His voice echoed. No answer. Jonah's boots were suddenly heavy. He kept moving, passing through. Crew quarters, all empty. Beds unmade. Personal belongings scattered. It looked like the crew had left in a hurry, or had been taken. As he entered the bridge, the captain's chair spun slowly in the air, as if someone had just stood up. Jonah's heart pounded. He sat at the console and tried to power it up. The screens flickered, then came alive. A log file appeared, blinking red. Final transmission. He pressed play. Static filled the speakers. Then a broken voice came through. It was Captain Rourke. This is Captain Rourke. To any Earthship, if you hear this. A loud metallic screech cut through the recording. The captain's voice came back, now a whisper. We are not alone. They're inside the walls. Then, nothing but static. Jonah felt cold sweat run down his neck. He tried to replay it, but the console went dark. Suddenly, the footsteps came again. Louder now, closer. Jonah turned, helmet light sweeping the bridge. Still nothing but the sound. It was moving toward him. The floor trembled under his boots, just slightly. He backed toward the airlock. His breathing was fast now, fogging the visor. Something moved in the corner of his eye, a shadow slipping across the wall, but there was no source for it. Command, he whispered, forgetting the radio was dead. I'm leaving right now. He stepped into the corridor, almost running. The footsteps followed, always staying just out of sight. At the airlock, he slammed the hatch controls. The door closed behind him with a heavy clang. In his shuttle, Jonah powered up the engines as he pulled away from the Valiant. His scanner beeped for the first time. 1 life sign detected. Jonah stared at the screen. The signal was coming from his own shuttle. A slow, deliberate knock sounded from behind his seat. He didn't turn around. He just stared ahead, breathing hard. As Earth Command's voice finally crackled back on the radio. Scout 3 report. Did you find the fleet? Jonah's voice shook. No. Command. I think they found us. The transmission ended in static. The message from Scout 3 ended in static. Inside Earth Command's war room, the officers stared at the empty signal feed. A giant screen showed a map of the outer sectors, with one blinking red dot where the Ninth Fleet had last been seen. The dot faded out. General Carver's jaw tightened. That's the 3rd ship we've lost in that sector. First the fleet, then the search teams, now a scout. What's out there? And no one answered. The air in the room felt heavy. Across the table, Intelligence Officer Lena Voss studied the data streams. There was a spike in deep space radiation before we lost contact. It's not from any known alien tech. Not the Alliance, not the Raiders, something else. Carver rubbed his temple. We already sent our final ultimatum to the Alliance, told them to stand down. If this isn't them, then who the hell is it? The President's voice came through the secure line, calm but cold. Find the fleet, or find out what destroyed it. Whatever it is, it's moving closer. 3 days later, the recon ship Argus slipped quietly into the dead sector. The stars here felt wrong, dimmer somehow, as if the darkness had eaten part of their light. Commander Hale stood on the bridge, watching the sensor readouts. Slow ahead. No comms chatter, no signals. This place is a graveyard. Lieutenant Ortez frowned at his console. Sir, I'm picking up debris, a lot of it. Some human, some alien. They moved closer. The wreckage floated in slow silence, twisted hulls of both Earth and alien ships, tangled together. Some had been sliced clean in half. Others were just melted. A half-burnt flag of the Ninth Fleet drifted past the window. Hale's voice was low. Record everything. We need proof. The ship's drone launched, drifting toward the wreckage with a camera feed. Through the grainy image, the crew saw strange markings carved into the metal, not blast marks, but symbols. Long, sharp, almost like writing. Ortez whispered, "That's not the Alliance's language." Before Hale could reply, a faint signal came through, a repeating distress call. Turn back, turn back. The voice was human, but broken, like it had been recorded over and over again until it warped. They traced the signal to a shattered alien transport, its engines gone, its hull torn apart. A single escape pod was lodged inside a breach in the ship's side. The pod door hissed open. Inside sat a figure in alien armor, slumped but alive. The helmet turned slowly toward them. The creature's skin was pale, almost translucent, eyes dark and deep. It spoke in broken English, the words dry and sharp. "We did not kill your fleet." Hale narrowed his eyes. "Then who did?" The alien's voice was almost a whisper. "We ran from them, we all ran, your fleet. They stayed. They fought. They died." Hale stepped closer. "Who?" The alien tilted its head. "Not who. What? They are old. They are patient. They do not speak. Only a race." The alien was brought aboard the Argus. In the medbay, it refused food, refused water. It only stared at the bulkhead as if it could see through it. When Hal pressed for answers, it finally said, "We called them the Silence, because they come with no sound, no light. They are here, and then you are gone." Hale tried to reason with it. "If they're so powerful, why are you alive?" The alien's eyes flickered. "Because they wanted me to live, to warn, but no one listens. You sent your threat. They heard." That night, the Argus drifted quietly in the sector. Most of the crew tried to sleep, but the ship felt too still. The stars outside seemed even dimmer than before. In the observation deck, Ortez sat staring at the alien prisoner through the glass of the medbay. The creature hadn't moved for hours. Then, without warning, it looked up and locked eyes with him. "They will not let you leave," it said softly. Ortez stumbled back. "What do you mean?" The alien pointed toward the viewport. "Look." Ortez turned his head. At first, he saw nothing but darkness. Then shapes began to appear, blacker than the space around them, like shadows moving through shadows. They had no lights, no engines. They didn't move in straight lines. They drifted, and yet were somehow getting closer. Ortez ran to the bridge. "Commander, we have incoming." Hale glanced at the radar. Nothing. The screens showed an empty void. Pointed at the view. "There, can't you see them?" Hey saw nothing. But then the lights on the bridge flickered, and for a second, the shapes were there. Hundreds of them. Surrounding the Argus. The alien in the medbay began to hum, a low, deep sound that vibrated in the walls. "They are here," it said. "Your fleet heard the same sound before they vanished." Hale ordered full power to the engines. "Get us out of here." The Argus turned, pushing toward the edge of the sector. The shapes followed, closing in, without moving faster. It was as if space itself was bending around them. The alien pressed a hand to the glass. "They will let you run, but not far. They like the chase." A sudden blast of static filled the bridge. A voice came through, faint, distorted, but unmistakable. It was Captain Rourke. "Hale, if you hear this, they are inside the walls." The crew froze. Rourke was dead. They all knew it, but the voice continued, now whispering in a way that felt too close, as if it was right behind them. "Don't bring them home." Hale's hands gripped the controls tighter. His heart pounded as the Argus pushed its engines to the limit. The shapes were still there, waiting, watching. And somewhere deep inside the ship, something began knocking. Slow, steady. The knocking came again, slow, heavy, like something testing the walls. On the bridge, every crew member could feel it through their boots. Commander Hale didn't speak, he just pushed the Argus harder, the engines screaming in protest. Outside the viewport, the shapes stayed in perfect formation, gliding alongside the ship without a single engine flare. They're matching our speed, Ortez whispered. They're not chasing, Haley said through clenched teeth. They're herding. The alien prisoner was still in the medbay, still humming that low sound. It seemed almost like the knocking and the humming were answering each other. Hale called down to the med officer. Sedate it if you have to. Shut it up. The officer's voice came back tight. Sir, it's not making the sound anymore. The walls are. The lights flickered again. For half a second, the bridge screens filled with static, then cleared. But in that static, Ortez swore he saw faces, human faces, screaming silently. Before he could say anything, the ship's AI announced in its calm, polite tone, "Unknown signal detected." Playing now, the voice that came through was calm, not human, not alien. Each word felt like it was chosen at random, yet it carried an awful weight. Ultimatum received. Response. Remove threat. Then silence. On the edge of the dead sector, Hale spotted something new. A station. Old, rusted, massive, older than any recorded human or alien structure. It hung between two dying stars, its outer shell broken in places, like some great bite had been taken out of it. Sensors showed a faint power. Source, still active. Ortez shook his head. Sir, we can't. That thing's been dead for centuries. Hole stared at it. If it's still here, it's here for a reason. Dock us. The docking clamps groaned as they locked to the station. Inside, the air was stale and cold, but breathable. Dust floated in weightless clouds. The Argus crew moved in pairs, flashlights cutting through the dark. The walls were covered in strange symbols, different from the ones on the wreckage. These were older, almost worn away. In the central chamber, they found rows of alien skeletons seated in a circle, as if they had been waiting for something. In the middle of the circle was a single black cube, smooth and perfect, untouched by dust. The alien prisoner was brought in under guard. The moment it saw the cube, it fell to its knees. It is their warning, it said softly. Every species they have erased leaves one behind, Hale asked. Warning for who? The alien looked at him with something like pity. For the next ones. Ortez approached the cube, scanner in hand. The moment his device touched it, the lights in the station roared to life. Holograms sprang up, images of fleets from 100 different worlds, all fighting the same black shapes. None won. One by one, the images showed planets lush and alive, then gray and lifeless, then gone. In the final image Hale saw Earth, not as it was now, but burned and broken. Suddenly, the station shook. The black shapes were outside, surrounding them, closer than ever before. The alien whispered, "They will not let you take the cube." Hale grabbed it. "Anyway, we're leaving." Back on the Argus, the cube was placed in the secure lab. As the engines fired, Ortez noticed something terrifying. The shapes were no longer just outside. They were in the ship, not in the hallways, not in the rooms, in the walls. The metal itself seemed to ripple as shadows slid through it. Crew members reported whispers behind them, footsteps in empty corridors. One engineer swore he saw Captain Rourke walking past, but Rourke had been gone for weeks. On the bridge, the radar suddenly showed a single contact far ahead, moving fast toward Earth. It wasn't the shapes. It was bigger. Ortez swallowed. Hard, sir, whatever that is. It's heading straight for home. Hale didn't look away from the viewport. Then we're right behind it. The alien prisoner laughed once, low and bitter. You cannot follow it. You are already inside its mouth. That night cycle, Hale couldn't sleep. He walked the silent halls of the Argus. Every so often, he'd see a shadow turn the corner ahead, but when he followed, it was gone. In the mess hall, he found the cube sitting on the table. He hadn't brought it there. No one had. It pulsed faintly like a heartbeat. When he reached for it, a voice filled his head. Not a sound. A thought. Last warning ignored. The next morning, 3 crew members were missing. No signs of struggle, no alarms, just gone. The ship's AI reported no record of them ever boarding the Argus. Their names were missing from the manifest. When Hale checked the crew quarters, their bunks were perfectly made. No personal belongings, no trace they had ever existed. Outside, the shapes began to thin. Only a few still followed. The rest had vanished into the dark. Hale thought maybe they had given up the chase. until the long-range scanner picked up dozens of contacts entering the Sol system. Earth Command sent a single, urgent message. Ninth Fleet sighted, returning from deep space. But something's wrong. No radio contact. Moving too fast. Hale felt his blood run cold. He knew the Ninth Fleet wasn't coming home. Whatever was flying those ships now, it wasn't human. And it wasn't coming to talk. The Argus burned hard toward the Sol system. Every engine screamed. Every panel rattled. The crew worked in silence, their faces pale, their eyes locked on the display that showed the Ninth Fleet's approach. They weren't in formation. They weren't slowing. On the main screen, the ships looked the same hull markings, same battle scars, but there was no glint of light in their windows, no movement on their decks. They slid forward in perfect unison, like puppets. On invisible strings, Hale stood at the center of the bridge. If they're on autopilot, we disable them. If they're boarded, we take them back. No one fires unless I give the order. The alien prisoner stood near the rear bulkhead, hands bound. You cannot take them back. They are gone. You look at ships, I look at graves. Earth Command's voice cut through the static. Commander Hale, all defense stations are primed. If the Ninth Fleet crosses the Mars perimeter without clearance, we will engage. Hale didn't answer right away. His mind replayed the words from the cube. Last warning ignored. The alien spoke again, quieter this time. They will not fight you. They will not answer you. They will only bring the silence closer. The first of the Ninth Fleet's ships crossed Mars orbit, defense guns locked on, ready to fire. Hale ordered the Argus into intercept. As they closed the gap, Ortez scanned the lead ship, the ISS Valiant. It still had scars from its last battle, but the hull was unnaturally clean, as if something had scrubbed away every trace of life. No energy readings from inside, Ortez said. Engines are running, but there's no heat signature from the core. Hale frowned. Then what's powering them? The alien answered without looking at him. They are. The Argus matched speed and docked with the Valiant. Aboarding. Team moved in, their rifles steady. Helmet lights cutting through the darkness. The air inside was cold and dry. Heavier than before, Haley led the way to the bridge. Every consort was dead. The captain's chair was empty until it wasn't. One blink, it was bare. The next blink, Captain Rourke sat there, staring at Hale. His uniform was torn, his skin pale. Hale. Rourke said softly, "You shouldn't have come." Hale froze. "Captain, what happened to you?" Rourke's mouth twitched into something that wasn't quite a smile. "We stayed, we fought, then we joined them." The boarding team's radios filled with static, then with voices, the voices of their families, their friends, people who couldn't possibly be here. One soldier ripped off her helmet, shouting for her brother. The corridor ahead seemed to stretch longer and longer, as if pulling her away from the group. She vanished into the dark before anyone could grab her. The alien prisoner's voice came through Hale's earpiece, though it wasn't on comms. "This is how they take you, not by force, by invitation." Hale stepped toward Rourke. The captain didn't move, but his eyes were wrong, too still, too deep. "We gave them your ultimatum," Rourke said. "They heard it. They are answering now. One by one, every voice will stop. Every light will fade, until there is only them." Hale's rifle trembled in his hands. "You're not Rourke." Rourke tilted his head. "No, but I remember how he thought, how he feared, how he died." The lights flickered, and the chair was empty again. Back on the Argus, Ortez shouted into the comms. "Commander, you need to get out now. The rest of the fleet is changing course. They're heading for Earth at full speed." Haley turned to his team. "Fall back." As they ran, the corridors seemed to shift, doors leading to wrong rooms, stairwells, turning into dead ends. The knocking returned, this time inside their helmets. One by one, the team made it to the airlock. Hale was last. He glanced back down the corridor and saw a dozen figures standing in the dark. Crew from the Valiant, from the missing scout, even from alien ships. All of them just watching. The Argus pulled away, detaching from the Valiant. But the moment the clamps released, a black ripple spread along the hull of the fleet ships, like ink in water. "They're changing," Ortez said. "Their structure, it's not metal anymore." On the display, the ships seemed to melt and reform, their shapes elongating, stretching. They no longer looked like human ships at all. The alien prisoner closed its eyes. Now they show their true face. Earth Command came through again, louder this time. "Hale, this is your final order. If they cross Earth orbit, you are to assist in their destruction." Hale didn't answer. He was staring at the cube in his hands. It was warm, now almost hot. For a moment, he felt something, not words, but a pull. It was showing him two paths, one where Earth fought, one where Earth ran. In both, the result was the same. The alien prisoner opened its eyes. The cube is not for you to decide. It is to tell you what is already decided. Outside the view, the lead ship of the Ninth Fleet broke formation. It turned toward the Argus. Slow, deliberate. Its windows glowed faintly for the first time. Faces appeared there, dozens of them. Human, alien, some Hale didn't recognize, all staring. The glow brightened, and for a second, the faces moved their mouths in perfect unison. Hale didn't hear the words, but somehow, he understood them. They weren't asking for help, they were welcoming him. The lead ship kept coming. No weapons, fire, no sudden acceleration, just that steady, deliberate drift toward the Argus. Hale stood on the bridge, watching it fill more and more of the viewport until it was all he could see. The faces in the windows didn't blink, they didn't breathe. They only moved their mouths in silent rhythm, as if repeating a prayer that no human could hear. "Commander," Ortez said, his voice sharp. "If they ram us, they won't," Hale said. Though he wasn't sure why he believed it. "That's not what they do." The alien prisoner stepped forward, its eyes never leaving the glowing windows. "They will offer you something first, a choice. Once you speak, you belong to them." Hale didn't answer. He gripped the cube in his hand until his knuckles went white. It was warmer now, pulsing in time with his heartbeat. Earth Command's voice cut in over the comms. "All defense platforms are primed. Any hostile ships crossing lunar orbit will be destroyed. Hale, confirm your position." Hale glanced at the tactical screen. The Ninth Fleet was almost at Earth's defense line. The black shapes still trailed, far behind, like hunters letting their prey run before the kill. "They're not rushing," Hale said quietly. "They're letting us see them come." The Argus shifted position, sliding alongside the lead ship. It was close enough now for the hull plating to be visible in detail, except it wasn't plating anymore. The surface rippled like liquid metal, bending the reflection of the stars. Commander Ortez said, staring at the readings. "There's no mass reading, none. It's like the whole ship is hollow." Before Hole could respond, a voice filled the bridge, not through the comms, not through the speakers. It was inside their skulls, deep and cold. "Your ultimatum is war. War is removal. Removal is now." A bright flash lit the void, Earth's orbital defenses firing first. Beams of energy tore across space and struck the Ninth Fleet. But instead of exploding, the ships absorbed the impact. The light bent around them, then vanished into their surfaces like water disappearing into sand. Seconds later, the same beams fired back, not from cannons, but from the ship's hulls themselves. The first defense platform split apart in silence, pieces scattering toward the planet below. "They're turning our own fire against us," Ortez said, horror in his voice. Hale slammed a command into the controls. "Full burn, we're going." Through them, the Argus surged forward, engines screaming as it dove between the fleet ships. The alien prisoner braced itself against the bulkhead. "You cannot fight them head-on. They will eat your ship as they ate ours." Hale's eyes stayed locked on the tactical screen. "Then we don't fight head-on." He jammed the throttle forward, aiming for the thin gap between the fleet and the planet. If he could reach the far side, maybe they could draw some of them away from Earth. The cube grew hotter in his hand. He felt images in his mind, visions of other worlds making the same desperate run, fleets scattering into the dark, all ending the same way. On the far side of the formation, something massive moved in the black. It wasn't a ship, not exactly. It shapeshifted constantly, sometimes like a spear, sometimes like a web. It was larger than any human station, its surface crawling with tiny black motes. The alien prisoner dropped to its knees, trembling. "That is the mouth. The rest are teeth." Hale realized then that the Ninth Fleet wasn't heading for Earth at all. They were guiding this thing toward it. The Argus turned hard, trying to put distance between itself and the massive shape. The black motes began peeling away from it, each one darting toward them like a swarm of insects. The whole sensors screamed as the first motes hit, clinging to the metal and spreading like oil. The lights on the bridge dimmed. "They're draining us," Ortez shouted. "We're losing power across the ship." Hale slammed his palm onto the emergency systems. "Cut life support in unused sections. Reroute everything to engines." The swarm thinned for a moment, as if regrouping. That was when Hale saw an opening, a narrow break between two of the fleet ships, the stars visible beyond. Punch. The Argus shot forward, scraping past the warped hull of the Valiant. For a heartbeat they were free of the swarm, but in that moment, Holly saw something that made his stomach twist. The faces in the Valiant's windows had changed. They weren't strangers anymore. They were his crew. The alien prisoner's voice came again, almost a whisper. You cannot save them, you cannot save your world, but you can make the ending different. Hale turned to it. Different how? It didn't answer. Instead, it glanced at the cube. You are still holding it. That means you still have a path. The cube pulsed harder, flooding Hale's mind with a single image, a small, hidden place, far from Earth, far from the silence. Not victory, not revenge. Survival. Earth command shouted over the comms. Hale. 2 more platforms down. We can't hold them back. Hale looked at the crew, at the alien, at the cube. His decision hit him like a weight. Change course, he said. Ortez blinked. Sir, not toward Earth, Hale said. Away from it now. The Argus swung wide, engines burning at maximum. Behind them, the Ninth Fleet and the black shapes kept moving toward Earth, not even turning to follow. The alien prisoner closed its eyes. You may save yourselves, but the silence will remember. And in the viewport, Hale saw Earth shrinking, its blue light fading behind the dark. For the first time, he wondered if humanity's greatest act of defiance would be to run. The Argus ran, for 3 days. The engines burned without pause, each hour carrying them deeper into the dark. Earth was now just a memory, a pale light far behind them. Hale barely left the bridge. He watched the star charts like a man expecting a shadow to follow him. So far, there was nothing. No fleet, no black shapes. The alien prisoner sat chained in the observation lounge, its gaze fixed on the same distant point in space. They don't need to chase, it said quietly. They've already marked you. Hale didn't reply. He didn't want to give the thought weight. On the second day, they intercepted the last transmission from Earth. It was broken, full of static, but enough to understand. Multiple breaches in orbit, platforms falling, losing New Sydney. Silence. Ships inside Atma. The voice cut off. Only the sound of wind and something like metal scraping against metal remained before the feed died. No one on the bridge spoke after that. By the 4th day, food rations were low. The crew's eyes were sunken, movements slow. They had been running so long that silence itself felt heavy, pressing down on every corner of the ship. Ortez broke it first. Sir, what if they're not following because they already know where we're going? Hale's hands tightened on the armrest. You think the cube is leading them? Ortez looked toward the lab where the cube sat sealed behind layers of containment. It's been warmer every day. Maybe it's not warning us, maybe it's tracking us. The alien prisoner laughed softly. You think you carry a weapon? You carry a lighthouse. That night cycle Hale dreamed. He stood in the middle of a vast empty plain under a black sky. The cube floated in front of him, pulsing like a heart. Every time it pulsed, shapes appeared on the horizon, tall, thin, shifting in the shadows. When he reached out to touch the cube, the shapes rushed forward, and the dream broke. He woke in his chair, sweat on his neck, the hum of the engines loud in his ears. The next morning, Ortez reported a faint signal. It was human. It came from a small mining outpost just outside the Kuiper Belt, a remote facility that barely anyone remembered existed. Could be survivors, Ortez said. Could be a trap. Hale stared at the map. Set course. If there are people out there, we need numbers. We can't keep running alone. The outpost appeared 2 days later, a cluster of metal domes clinging to a drifting asteroid. No signs of damage, no ships nearby. They docked. The air inside was stale but breathable. Lights flickered dimly in the narrow corridors. In the central hall, they found them 20 survivors, all wearing heavy coats, all silent as Hale and his team entered. A man stepped forward. His face was gaunt, eyes hollow. You came from Earth. Hale nodded. We escaped. What happened here? The man's gaze slid past him, toward the cube Hale carried. They came, he said. Not ships, not people. Just the feeling of being watched. We stayed underground. Some of us didn't stay themselves. One of the survivors began laughing, high, broken, without joy. It echoed off the walls until it stopped as suddenly as it started. The alien prisoner whispered in Hale's ear, "These ones are already touched." Hale felt it too. The survivors' movements were just slightly off. Their eyes lingered too long on shadows. They stood too still when no one was talking. The man from before leaned closer to Hale. If you're smart, you'll leave the cube here. That's what it wants. It doesn't need you. It needs to arrive. Hale stepped back. We're leaving. All of us. The man's expression didn't change. Not all of us want to leave. Back on the Argus, Ortez sealed the airlock and checked the manifest. 5 of the outpost's survivors had boarded. 15 had stayed behind. As the ship undocked, Hale looked through the viewport. The ones left behind stood perfectly still in the docking bay, watching without waving. When the Argus pulled far enough away, They all turned at the exact same moment, facing the darkness beyond the station. Hours later, the new passengers began to whisper, not to the crew, but to themselves, in low tones no one could quite make out. One engineer swore he saw one of them standing in the engine room in total darkness, smiling at nothing. The alien prisoner avoided them entirely. When Hayler asked why, it said, "They are not passengers, they are invitations." That night, Hayler couldn't sleep. He checked the security feed and saw something that turned his blood cold in the observation lounge. The 5 survivors stood in a circle around the cube. They weren't touching it, but the cube was glowing brighter than he had ever seen. The glow pulsed once, twice. On the third pulse, every light on the Argus flickered. In the brief darkness, Hale saw shapes moving in the corridor outside the lounge, shapes that weren't part of the crew. By the time the lights came back, the survivors were gone. The cube sat alone on the table, still warm, still pulsing, and somewhere, far behind them in the black, something had started moving. Again, it was coming. The shapes were closer now. Hale could feel it in the way the air seemed heavier, in the way the shadows along the corridor walls didn't quite match the lighting. The Argus had been running for days, but the thing behind them was gaining without ever appearing on radar. The alien prisoner no longer spoke. It sat in the corner of the bridge, head bowed as if listening to something far away. Ortez leaned over his console. "Sir, we can't outpace them. We're burning too much fuel. At this rate, we'll be dead in hours even if they never catch us." Hale's hand brushed against the cube where it rested on the arm of his chair. It was hot now, almost too hot to hold, and the pulse inside it matched the beat of his own heart. The first hit came without warning. No alarm, no reading, just a deep metallic thud somewhere in the hole, followed by a low vibration that crawled through the floor into their bones. The lights dimmed, every console flickered. On the display, the black behind them seemed to bend. Something vast was there, just beyond the reach of sight, and it was pulling them back without touching them. The alien prisoner lifted its head. "The mouth is opening." Hale stood. "We're not going in without a fight." Ortez looked at him like he'd gone mad. "Sir, we've seen what happens when you fight them. We're not going to fight them their way," Hale said. "We're going to give them something they can't swallow." His eyes went to the cube. For days it had been pulling them, tracking them, maybe betraying them, but it had also been showing him flashes, choices, paths. Not one path led to victory, but maybe one led to something else. He carried the cube down to engineering. Ortez close behind. The heart of the Argus, the reactor, throbbed with deep blue light. "What are you thinking?" Ortez asked. Hale set the cube on the reactor housing. "If this thing connects to them, maybe it can connect them to something else. Like a detonation big enough to matter." Ortez's eyes widened. "Sir, that would end us," Hale said. "But if it slows them, maybe it buys someone, somewhere, a little more time, before they could start." The ship's internal alarms screamed. "Hull breach on deck 5. Hal and Ortez ran toward the breach. The corridor there was wrong. The walls were bending inward, like the metal was melting toward the open space. Shadows slid along the floor, tall and thin, but without any clear shape. From the dark beyond, voices came, not one but many, human, alien, some that had never been heard before, or speaking in perfect unison. "Return what is ours." The alien prisoner appeared behind them, walking toward the shadows without fear. "If you destroy it, they will mark you forever. You will never be free." Hale didn't slow. "Then we make it worth the mark." The shadows lengthened, reaching toward him. One touched the wall, and the metal around it began to peel away in strips, curling toward the black. Ortez fired his rifle. The bolts went through the shadow like light through smoke. The voices spoke again, still calm. "You are already inside. You cannot burn your way out." Hale reached the reactor room. He grabbed the cube with both hands, ignoring the heat burning into his skin. It pulsed harder, faster, as if resisting him. He slammed it into the containment slot and locked it in place. The reactor's hum deepened, its blue glow turning white. A ripple spread through the ship. The shadows froze, then turned their attention all at once toward engineering. The alien prisoner shouted over the rising noise. "They will come for it now." "Then we hold them here," Hale said. They sealed the bulkhead doors. The knocking started again, heavy and slow, each impact bending the reinforced steel inward. Ortez stayed at the control panel, fingers flying, overloading the reactor. 3 minutes to detonation. The alien prisoner stood near the door, breathing slow, as if resigned. "If you survive this, you will wish you had not." Hale didn't answer. The first shadow slipped through the bulkhead as if it wasn't there. It stretched up to the ceiling, bending unnaturally, head tilting at a sharp angle. The voices returned, louder now, echoing in the skull. You were given a choice. You chose wrong. Hale raised his rifle. We'll see. He fired, not at the shadow, but at the control conduit. Sparks exploded, and the room's gravity failed. The shadow twisted in the sudden weightlessness, slowing just enough for the countdown to tick past the 2-minute mark. One by one, more shadows poured through. Some war faces, Hale knew crew from the Valiant, the Lost Scouts, even a few of his own from weeks ago. They moved without sound now, gliding closer. Ortez's voice was steady. 1 minute, the cube's light grew so bright it hurt to look at. The reactor roared, every surface in the room trembling. 30 seconds. The alien prisoner met Hale's eyes. When this ends, there will still be more of them. There is always more. Hale nodded. Then we keep ending them, one mouth at a time. 10 seconds. The shadows were inches away now. Hale could feel the cold radiating from them, hear the faint whisper of 100 different voices speaking 100 different last words. 5 seconds. The cube gave one final pulse, then split apart, spilling white light into the room. The Argus vanished in silence, far away, in a sector untouched for centuries. A single black shape shuddered and went still. The swarm behind it paused in unison, as if listening for something that was suddenly gone. Somewhere, drifting in the dark, alone, escape pod floated. Inside, Ortez opened his eyes. The stars were quiet, too quiet. He didn't know if they had won anything at all, but he knew one thing: the silence would never forget them now, and maybe, just maybe, that was enough.